here, and in this video journal I'm going to start bracing another one of the tops that I'm using in my current builds. This one will be an A bracing pattern that I have modified from the one I've used before. Hopefully it'll make the guitar sound a little better. So keep watching. Well, to start this bracing process, the first thing I'll do is go ahead and choose some quarter sawn Sitka spruce to use as my bracing. I'll look through my bracing stock pile, find some pieces that are long enough to work, and then cut them out. I'll use my modified A brace cut sheet to determine the size and quantity and number of the braces that I'm going to need for this particular build. The next thing I need to do is to prepare the top for the bracing process. And to do this, I'll take the plans for the top and tape them gently to the top, which is 1/2 inch oversized all the way around. And then using a straight edge, I will mark the brace locations on those 1/2 inch outer portion of the top all the way around. All of the braces that are on the top are going to be marked so that I'll know the placement when I get ready to glue things on. Well, this is the second bracing pattern that I'm going to be using on my current builds. One of the guitars will have this bracing pattern. This is one that is made that I have not used yet, that's for a 25.4 inch scale. And I like the way this sounds, but I'm going to modify it just a little bit by squeezing things in a little bit here and changing the upper sound hole braces. Here's what it's going to look like from the plans. As you can see, I've done away with this transverse brace underneath the sound hole and freed up some area in here for vibrations. I've also changed the way that the sound hole is reinforced by its sound hole braces. The part down here is pretty much the same. I have gone ahead and cut my braces. I cut this little part here on the CNC because I wanted it to be extremely precise. And it's going to be this brace right here. I will trim it after I glue the braces on. The lower arms, I cut these by hand, just marking things in and chiseling the little pieces out. And then the upper arms. So I'll have something that looks like this. I will trim this center brace down once I glue everything on. The next step is going to be go ahead and profile these major arms of the A brace on down. And I may go ahead and profile these on down some too. They're just going to kind of slope gently down. Then I can go ahead and glue them up. After the main A brace assembly is glued up, I'll take a thin piece of veneer and glue it to the front side of the A brace, the center of the A brace, the part that faces the sound hole, to do two things. One is to seal the end grain of the half lap joint of the lower arms of the A brace, and also cosmetically it looks a little nicer when you look in the sound hole. You don't see the end grain of the lower arms of the A brace right there at the sound hole. After that is dried, I'll take the main A brace assembly over to my 30-foot radius dish and sand it down and fine-tune the 30-foot radius on the bottom of the main A brace assembly. I'll also take this time to sand down the lower face brace arms on 30-foot radius as well in the position that they're going to be when they're glued to the top. I can then take the rosewood stock that's going to become my bridge plate, place it on the plans, put the A brace assembly on the plans in its proper location, and then mark on the piece of rosewood where the lower arms of the A brace meet the bridge plate so I can take it over to the scroll saw and cut it to size. Once I have the bridge plate assembly completed, I'll put it back on the plans in its proper position and mark where the two lower face braces meet the bridge plate so that when I'm gluing it up, I'll have it reference marks. Well, it's time to start bracing up this new bracing pattern. And I've gone ahead and made the main section of the brace, which is this piece here, which is made up of 5 different pieces of Sitka spruce. Now I'm just going to position it so that I can glue it on. I've already trimmed the upper arms to fit against my upper transverse brace. So I'm just going to use a little piece of acrylic to mimic where the upper transverse brace will be. Clamp it in place. Now I have a center line marked on the top of my brace here. I should be able to just push that straight up against my stop. Make sure that my bottom arms are aligned properly. Go ahead and clamp this in place. And with my feeler gauge, just to make sure I've got a good mate between the bottom of the brace and the top, all the way around. Now I can take my positioning tugs and place them on the top. And then I can remove the brace or the go bar holding the main brace in place and make sure it's where it needs to be. Now I can glue this up. With my brace all glued up, now I can carefully maneuver it into place and align it with my tugs here on the bottom. And then press down. Okay, I'm going to put some more clamps on there, but I'm going to get rid of some of this glue squeeze out first. With the little soda straw. Okay, this side. Okay, with enough of those clamps on there now to hold that in place, its glue's had a little bit of time to set. So I'm going to take my tugs off and clean up the glue squeeze out on the inside. And I can go ahead and take off the transverse brace holder. After I've positioned and glued on the main A-brace assembly, I'll spend some time doing some glue squeeze-out cleanup along the edges and arms of the main A-brace assembly. After that's done, I can go ahead and take and position and check the fit of my bridge plate and then go ahead and glue it on in between the lower arms of the A-brace. Once the bridge plate has been glued on and is dry, I can remove its go bars and start working on the lower face braces. I'll start with the two center lower face braces, carefully checking the fit and then aligning them with the marks that I made on the bridge plate and the marks that I made on the outer portion of the top and glue those on. Once those have had time to set, I can go ahead and move on to the outer lower face braces and go ahead and check the fit of each one of those and then glue them on in turn, cleaning out any glue squeeze up that happens along the way. After all these braces on the top have been dried, I'll take the top off of the radius dish, turn it over to its flat side, put the shelf liner back on, and then start working on the upper face brace and the upper transverse graft. First, I'll check the fit of the upper transverse brace, make sure it fits properly by using my little feeler gauge. And then I'll go ahead and glue it on. Once it's had time to dry, I can also start working on the upper face graft. There's enough room up there for me to glue them both on at the same time. So I'll go ahead and check the fit of the upper face graft and glue and clamp it in place. Clean out any glue squeeze up that happens along the way. Once those two braces are dry, I can go ahead and remove those go bars and start working on the sound hole braces. I'll check the fit of the sound hole braces with my feeler gauge and make sure they fit properly in between the arms, and then go ahead and glue them on as well. The last thing I do is add a small strip of spruce down at this very bottom, a few inches above where the tail block is going to be, right on the seam with the two pieces of spruce that make up the top joint. It's a little added insurance. After that, I can remove the go bars and the top is ready for its next step, which will be making it responsive as possible. Well, that concludes this video journal on the A bracing pattern. My next video journal, I'll take this braced top and make it as responsive as possible. If you like my content, please subscribe, hit the notification icon, and if you'd like to support the channel, there's a link down below where you can do that. Also on that same link, if you'd like to get the data sheets for this and other video journals, they'll be available there as well. Thank y'all so much for watching.